I feel like the industry as a whole is pretty much that way, that you'll find those that are succeeding are willing to share what's working for them and also willing to share to spare others the heartache that comes from some of their mistakes. And that's the whole idea is, can we help our franchisees accelerate the pace of which they accomplish results? Can we get them to revenue as fast as possible? And when I say revenue, some of them, they're already doing a deal or two or three a month. We've had franchisees come in and doing several deals a month, but they're just ready to scale to the next level. And it's just the idea, can we help you streamline the pace of which you learn, apply, and go and execute?
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll, and I'm here with Mark Stubler. What's going on, Mark?
Man, just eating, sleeping, and investing, baby. It's been fun.
Love it.
Thanks for having me on, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. So, everyone listening, Mark's from Joe Homebuyer. So first, Mark, I want to know, which we're going to get into how you got into this space, but how'd you come up with the name Joe Homebuyer?
Isn't that funny? It's just the idea that we take the average investor and help them scale and grow their business. And we just like our model that the average Joe can get out and get it done. And then maybe the second level of that is we just want the families we meet with to know that there's just kind of that personal touch, just a regular guy stopping by or gal stopping by with the desire to provide value and service. So Joe just seemed to fit that name, and we ran with it and loved it ever since.
That's cool. I like it. So, Mark, give everybody a little background on what all you do and how you got into this space.
Yeah, I sure appreciate the question. So I am a fence and deck salesman, and come to find out, it just set me up perfectly for, the grind, the hustle, and what it takes to thrive in real estate. But just a history of lots of sales experience and working with families and building a plan. And it just translated so well to real estate. So I have a business partner that introduced me to the industry about 10 years ago. Many of you know him, Cody Hoffine. He was one of the original founders of Wholesale Inc. And so we just collaborated at a pretty early stage in business and realized we were doing some pretty special things in our own market in Utah, and just hit the ground running and really enjoyed the results we were getting, as well as just the industry as a whole. And we decided about 2 years into being investors that, hey, there's an opportunity to expand here. And we chose the franchise route. We chose to create Joe Homebuyer Franchising so that we could partner with great investors across the country to bring our strengths and work with them on their strengths and collaborate as partners to build thriving businesses. And so that's what we've been doing the last now 5 years, is growing and building franchisees all across the country.
That's cool. So you're saying you got into the real estate. You were, first you were selling probably door to door or however you were doing that, and then got into the real estate, built a process, and then you had a decision. Now you saying you got into franchises. That was the decision that you could go into other markets and staff a team versus franchising to go nationwide, or what were your thoughts there?
Right. And so do you expand by putting boots on the ground in multiple markets? We did that a little bit and actually had relatively decent success. We first went into Indiana. We went into Dallas kind of simultaneously with the franchise idea. We had a guy that knew Dallas well and wanted to work with us, and we thought, well, let's do it. Let's run with his strength. But what I really like about the franchise model is our success is reliant on the success of our partners, meaning we didn't put somebody boots on the ground that they may not be fully invested, they may not care as much, where if you partner with a franchisee, your interests are aligned, meaning their success is shared. We have to give all of our best support, system softwares, coaching, training, partnership value. And when the franchisee succeeds, that's only when the franchisor succeeds. And so I just like that model of it just feels more like a partnership type feeling. And just seeing other people succeed is the other value that comes from that, is helping others grow and hit their own ambitions.
Yeah, that's cool. So let's talk about franchises. It's because some people listening may not know, or like I know somewhat about franchises. So I know like Dunkin' Donuts, you can go in, pay some money, you get basically the whole playbook. They do the marketing, yes. They do everything, stuff like that. We don't have many franchises in the real estate space. So run everybody through like how a franchise even works.
It's actually a lot like Dunkin' Donuts, and it tastes just as good as the donuts when you get monster deals, right?
Yeah.
But it's similar, right? You get the playbook. And the playbook originally started out with just a lot of sales art. And I use the word art because that was our background. Mine and Cody's background is just a lot of sales experience. And so, in the early days of offering our franchisees, we gave them a really strong sales playbook. That was the playbook they inherited. And it just optimized putting themselves in the right living rooms at the right time, optimizing the amount that they got the property under contract for, getting the best discounts on properties, optimizing revenue. So the sales book was where we started with our playbook. But over the last 5 years, we've brought in strategic partners, the likes of Brent Daniels. He's a franchisee. Jerry Norton, he's a franchisee. And not only are they benefiting and growing businesses leveraging our system, but we're able to have, kind of an inside track support and influence from them over the tribe of franchisees. And our playbooks just continue to be enhanced. So yes, you step in as a franchisee and you get the systems, the software, the sales playbook, how to optimize revenue, and then just ongoing mentoring and mastermind. So not only do you get one-on-one support as needed, but you also have just an incredible community. And that's the one thing, Brian, that I actually significantly underestimated. I had no idea what type of community we were on the brink of creating. But that's probably been one of the most powerful things is the mastermind aspect of it. That alone is quite valuable for our franchisees to come together and collaborate. We have them set up in both, the top group gets together, the top performers, but then regionally as well. They get together as what we refer to as our zones, so that they can share best practices and even sometimes leverage resources and co-op on activities. So it's just become an incredible tribe, for those that are doing real estate but want to take it to the next level, leveraging the best process systems and a playbook to help, and ultimately have a partner to help them get to the next level.
Yeah, and you know what? That's interesting you say like about the mastermind too, because everyone talks about masterminds like it's a buzzword, right? And a lot of people say different things about it, but what you're talking about is you're talking about getting successful real estate investors that are in different markets together to talk about like what's working and what's not, and like sharing some of the failures so that you don't have to experience it yourself, and then like some of the wins, right?
You're right. And I love that you brought that up. The failures are just as valuable as, hey, this is what I did. I messed up. I lost, money, or it wasn't effective. So let me spare you the time and energy and cost, and don't do that type of thing. That's effectively what the franchise model is, but that's enhanced by these groups, right? And being part of a zone group. So if you're part of the Western region or Midwest or whatever, you're collaborating with people in that market, that industry, in the industry, obviously, but around you, and you're able to ask them. You've got top performers and the newest franchise all within that same group, and you're able to say, all right, and kind of understand where am I at within, this makeup of people. Am I one of the new ones, or I want to be obviously one of the top guys. So what can I do to rub shoulders with them and ask them questions, and what mistakes did they make that I can benefit and learn from? So you're right, that just that collaboration and mastermind of sorts provides so much value.
Yeah, and it's interesting you do it by zones too, because like I know East Coast is going to be different than West Coast. It's like different, like even the sellers. Like I know up in the Northeast, it's a way different seller than Southeast.
100%. Yeah, like it's a totally different dynamic.
It is, yeah. So compiling people together that way too. But I do find, and everyone listening too, like whether it's a mastermind with Mark or anybody though, get around people that are doing better than you, so that you can learn. Like people succeeding usually want to share their failures so other people don't make it. So like that's a huge thing right there.
It is, and I love that. That I feel like the industry as a whole is pretty much that way. That you'll find that those that are succeeding are willing to share what's working for them, and also willing to spare others the heartache that comes from some of their mistakes. And that's the whole idea is, can we help our franchisees, accelerate the pace of which they accomplish results? Can we get them to revenue as fast as possible? And when I say revenue, some of them, they're already doing a deal or two or three a month. We've had franchisees come in and doing several deals a month, but they're just ready to scale to the next level. And it's just the idea, can we help you streamline the pace of which you learn, apply, and go and execute? So it's been really fun. It's been an incredible challenge. I love being the CEO of this company because it challenges me to be a perpetual learner and grower, and obviously try to develop as a leader in all aspects of my life. And so I welcome the challenge, but and that's what real estate does for all of us, right, Brian? I think you can relate. I think your listeners can relate. Real estate brings out either the best or the worst in you. And I think in the most part, it can bring out the best in you, so long as you just, don't give up, right? You just stick with it. You're going to be refined because it challenges you to step up your game, to work hard, to pivot when the market changes. I mean, all these things are just such a welcome. I think I welcome those challenges because I see the refinement that it requires of us.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny while we're talking about this too. Real estate can be a lonely game. It's like, so real estate investors are the people that decided, you know what? I'm not going to be an agent. I'm going to go door knock and figure this out, get a contract and wholesale or flip it. So it's not the conventional way. So they don't think like most people. But I know in
Right.
a lot of cities, unless you network with people, you're just doing it yourself. So you don't have anyone to bounce the ideas off of. It's a lonely game. Like basically, real estate investors are hardworking hustlers. Like we will go out and do the work. And sometimes
That's
you're doing
right.
it by yourself. It's better to find the like-minded people around to at least bounce ideas off when you are failing, because you're gonna.
At a minimum, right? Is to be able to bounce ideas. And we find that, I mean, we still have two franchise locations ourselves. So we run our own Utah operation and North Carolina operation. So we're still in the heat of it. Like I'm, strategizing with my COO, great 26, 27-year-old Connor's his name. He's just killing it. He's just running our operation in both locations. But at the end of the day, even, he and I come together and strategize on marketing, strategize on specific deals, even on acquisitions sometimes. So you're right. We find that collaboration is one of the, the strongest components of surrounding yourself with great people is going to be one of the biggest indicators of your overall success. I mean, Jim Rohn, and I won't say the quote as well as some, but Jim Rohn, is known for saying, and we all talk about it, but we become like the five closest people we spend the most time with, right? And in real estate, it will serve you well to be associated with good people, those that are even ahead of you. You made that comment earlier, Brian, that it will serve you well if you're even investing time with people that are 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years ahead of you. That can really propel your growth as well.
Yep, I agree. So okay, so Mark, so say there's someone out there, like most real estate investors that I talk to, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, or they got into it somehow. They figured out how to door knock or like got a deal or two, maybe got lucky on a deal, and then they turned it into a business. And then you're saying those people you can help expedite. Like, let me even take a step back. People with Joe Homebuyer, people that are brand new are usually not going to be a fit. Like they need to go figure out how to do the deals first, right? But the people that have figured it out, that's where you can come in and help them scale their business quicker, right?
That's exactly it. If you're doing a deal a month, or you've done several deals over the years, and you're just trying to figure out how to get more consistency, or you're fairly consistent and you're just ready to scale to get your business to the next benchmark, build a team, or even if it's not to build a team, but it's just consistent deal flow. Leverage our strategic marketing partners. Leverage our proven sales system. Leverage our software to help maximize your efforts and opportunities. And so that's where we thrive, is helping existing investors take their business to the next level, to collaborate, partner, and both on ideas and activities and mentorship, and then bring you into the most powerful community. We get together once a year for an annual conference, and it is life changing. And I know that that's easy for one to say. I'm biased, coming from as one of the founders of Joe Homebuyer, but our community is probably one of the strongest things. One of the things we work on a lot at Joe Homebuyer is helping create world-class leaders. Now, I get that that's not the most attractive thing. Like somebody listening might say, well, I'm already a good leader, or I don't see how that's going to help me get more revenue. But actually, on a conversation yesterday, me, Cody, and Jerry Norton were on a call, and interestingly enough, it was just a funny banter back and forth. They suggested, and I bring up Jerry's name just because he's maybe the OG of YouTube coaching. He's been on there forever. But the funny thing is he specifically said in that call, he's like, I think it's probably, or Cody originally said, I think it's probably 80%, your mindset and your leadership development, and 20%, skill that makes the difference in real estate. And Jerry's like, no. It's probably more like 99% your mindset, your leadership, what you're doing to grow and have the right mindset, activities, how you're executing, and 1% the skill. Whatever it is, it's just interesting that who you're developing as a leader, how you're executing, and the mindset at which you approach things really does have a significant impact in your output. And so we really work on that as well. At least we provide a platform within the franchise model where people are growing as leaders. And some really invest a ton of time, some are less active at that, but we really understand the importance. And our top producers are really doing some inspiring things as leaders, both in their own businesses, communities, etc. So we really like developing as leaders. We feel that challenge ourselves internally, but we really try to challenge our franchisees in that way as well.
I think that's really interesting too, because most people in real estate are talking about like KPIs, which everything's very important, like talking about that stuff. A lot of people don't talk about being a leader. And eventually you just find yourself, like I've noticed, I just found myself in a leadership position with no experience. It's like there's no playbook.
Right.
It's like, okay, I got to
That's right.
figure this out now. And you got to have the
It
mindset
happens.
like what you're talking about too. Like, so that's really important stuff. So I commend you guys on that because most people don't think about that.
You're going to find yourself in that whether you like it or not. And are you going to have unnecessary brain damage of, losing quality talent or never even attracting the right talent because you just haven't grown as a leader yet? And so it starts from within, right? What am I working on personal and professional development? Am I surrounding myself with great people? And am I clear on my purpose? That's our 4P model, is each of those things. And we just provide a platform to inspire and to help franchisees grow in that way. But hopefully, just our conversation today, Brian, is challenging people to evaluate. Because sometimes we wake up and we watch a YouTube video, we read a book of Rich Dad Poor Dad, or we're getting the next level strategies from Pace Morby. All these great influencers out there. That's great. That's professional development. But what are we doing to make sure we're clear on our why, our purpose, why we're doing things? What are we doing for personal development? To just make sure that we're running our lives well, we're leading ourselves well. So it's a fun challenge. It's a great opportunity. And anyway, it makes you think, right? Would I get a greater output if I'm working better on my input personally?
Yeah. Even just changing your thought process to even think like that will make you better off.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. So that's cool. Okay. So I like that kind of stuff. So now say I'm an investor. I'm doing, I don't know, a deal a month and I'm just trucking along. I'm figuring everything out. I come to you. What specific things? Because you said like you have a sales playbook. Like what all does that entail? Is that like literally, hey, here's like in Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, it's like, hey, you put these pickles on and you put this. Is it like that detailed on exactly what to do, or run me through that?
Yeah, thank you. So first off, it's how well are you managing your leads? That's a massive part of your success. So we have an acronym that self-populates inside our software, our regular CRM. So when they're just working with the sellers and they just go through the normal process of executing what happened on that lead, with that lead, we're able to track it. So it's their LOAC. Here's the acronym: leads, opportunities, appointments, contracts, and closes, right? And so the LOAC and the relationship from L to O, so lead to opportunity, that ratio is critical from the very beginning. How high of a conversion ratio do I have from leads to opportunities? And some of you listen and it's like, what is a lead versus an opportunity? That's the sort of thing we define. But essentially, a lead is just anything that comes in. An opportunity is a net lead, effectively. Somebody that's a yes, a maybe even a soft no, we would leave as an opportunity because we see that there's motivation, but maybe they're talking as if they're not ready. So that's the net lead or an opportunity, right? And then the ratio from opportunity to appointment. So that's the first part of the playbook, is helping our franchisees optimize every lead. So we have this philosophy: less leads managed well is better than an abundance of leads managed poorly. It's this idea that you just don't go gangbusters, frivolously marketing, spending money on marketing dollars until you've got the framework of your. Case in point, a franchisee calls me up and says, "Hey, Mark, I'm ready to take it to the next level. I've got more money. Let's put it into marketing." So we said, okay, let's evaluate a few things. We essentially look at their LOAC and we determine that their live answer rate, their percentage of leads that are coming in that they're contacting, is not 100%, meaning there's just a percentage they never get a hold of or whatever. We change a few things so that they can enhance those that they get in touch with. They improve their live answer rate. And revenue goes up for the franchisee without spending any more money on marketing. So it seems like that's pretty rudimentary, elementary sorts, like I could figure that out. But tracking these things and having the framework to understand, okay, what are the ratios I should be at and how can I improve? So that's the first end of the playbook. And then all the way through, optimizing how to set an appointment. And then the negotiation. That's one of the funnest parts. Some people get nervous in that setting, or others just feel like sometimes they're leaving $5,000 to $10,000 on the table each time. We have a 5 steps in negotiation that really puts, it's going to sound different, but we really puts the seller in the driver's seat. They effectively select the price that they sell it for. We just create the framework through the 5 steps in negotiation to optimize the value that we're providing and to really create the framework so that the seller basically puts a price tag on the value we're providing. And the more value we provide, the better we do at creating this framework. We're getting properties at deeper discounts, and it just is, it's a beautiful thing. So the 5 steps to negotiating is a really strong, and effectively it's just, first identifying the seller's price. It's making sure you understand where they're at there. It's a quality, anchor, making sure that they know that, hey, in a perfect world, I'd be way down here. That creates the, oh crap, I'm never going to sell it for that low of a price type feeling with the seller. And then it's a series of questions, and ultimately getting to a point where we create a framework where the seller says, I really want your service, and I can come to this number. And that way the seller's in a position where, or the franchisee, or, the acquisition manager in this case, never feels like they're in a position of like leaving money on the table, or probably even worse, feeling like they're the ones dictating the price that they're putting out in a contract. Let the seller determine the value of which they're putting, what the price tag of sorts, the value that they're associating with the offering that you're making. So I just really like our sales playbook. I'm confident that our franchisees are optimizing, and when they optimize, they're just getting the best possible prices, and that makes all the difference in your business. If right now you're averaging 10, 15, whatever the number is, I know Mark is you're just below what you think you need to be per deal. And you're just not getting over that threshold of consistent success. It's probably because there's some refinement that you can make on your acquisition side. And that's an area of strength for us. So I'm passionate about it. I probably went on too long about it, Brian. I got a little bit in the weeds, but I hope it's helpful to at least challenge some thought. Here, are these some areas that I can improve? Because it will make all the difference in your business if you improve your acquisitions, both on the lead management as well as all the way through the sales cycle.
It is. Even looking at that, like even in my business, because we do like pay-per-lead and marketing, what I notice is whenever there's a number, whatever you're managing gets, or whatever you're looking at gets managed, right? So what you're saying is you're going to put KPIs or specifications on each step of the sales process. So now it's like, okay, we have a specific number or percent or whatever it is. Once an investor sees that number, normally then it starts getting attention and you try to increase, just human nature. So like, I know we do EOS over here, like we did EOS, and on the L10 meeting, it's like, okay, we have the number, and it's funny. Once we have the KPI, it usually gets better. But most investors, especially for the 1 and 2 man shops, they have so much going on. It's like, they don't even know the numbers yet. So that's a really interesting framework, because it's going to be like, okay, here are the important numbers to look at. And you guys help them build that framework to at least see them. So then they can see, okay, you know what? Our leads are coming in, great cost. We're not getting appointments, or our show rate's not there. You can see exactly which part of the funnel is broken to fix that specific part.
It exposes itself, and it doesn't matter where you start. It's just identifying and then improving, right? Making the iterations to get gradual improvement. You want to hear something interesting, Brian? I love to hear it. I'm not surprised to hear that about you, that you're running the EOS model. We actually brought the EOS model through a cohort group to our franchisees. So we actually have our top performing franchisees in a cohort EOS training as part of the leadership development right now, because we understand and value so much the development of our franchisees and how they're growing as leaders. And we're big adopters of the EOS model, and it's made all the difference in our business. And so we brought that to our franchisees. So we actually leverage a very talented implementer that is helping cohort our franchise group. So it's been fun to see.
That's huge too, because EOS isn't cheap.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, just going to EOS, working with an implementer or something, it's an expensive thing. So if people get access to that also, it's an awesome framework. It helps you like really dial in your business.
It does. It helps you simplify and focus and delegate. It helps you build the right infrastructure, right? Foundations of sort. So again, that's the whole model of the franchise is come. And sure, on a lot of things, you're just going to save money, have resources, opportunities you otherwise didn't have. But then when you get there, you realize, oh, wow, and there's so much more in terms of a community and sales book and playbooks in general. And I love the comparison to Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe I'm going to start using that. And then when you get those monster deals, it tastes just as good as one of those massive donuts at Dunkin'.
Right, yeah. And just so everybody knows too, signing up for a franchise it is kind of like the easy button, but you still have to do a ton of work, right? Like it's not like everyone's doing stuff for you, just to be clear. Like you still have to do it. You're just helping them with the framework and the things that you've found successful.
Yeah, we want you to be focusing on the right activity each day to optimize the pace of which you create revenue and the consistency of which you bring in revenue. But you're right. You ultimately are responsible for your own success. So we are looking for, again, we don't partner with everybody. We're strategic about who we bring on and choose to franchise with. But it's those that are hungry and humble, right? That are going to put in the time, the effort, but also are ambitious, that see the opportunity. But that hungry part, I think, is a component of that is teachable. We're also not compatible with those that already have it all figured out, in the sense that, a student mindset will complement those that we thrive with. Somebody that, and I hope that I remain hungry, in the sense that I'm a perpetual student, learning from franchisees. That's part of the effect of the zone, is they come together and say, hey, this is what we need as franchisees to continue to grow and thrive. So we, as the franchisor, hope to maintain that same core value of hunger. But those are the type of franchisees we're looking for. Those that are student mindset, for sure.
Nice. That's good to know. So if anybody's listening, thinks, hey, you know what, it might be worth a conversation with you or someone on your team to see if Joe Homebuyer is a fit, what's the best way to connect?
There's a lot of ways, but you can find us, Joe Homebuyer Franchising.com. And you can follow me, Mark Stubler. You can follow Cody Hoffine. You can follow Jerry Norton, for heaven's sakes. He'll point you to Joe Homebuyer. There's a lot of ways, but Joe Homebuyer Franchising.com. Go on, fill out a quick application or just name and phone number, and we'd love to have an initial call with you. And at a minimum, we'll provide some insights of how we can give you some ideas, ways to potentially challenge you to improve your business. And in a perfect world, if it makes sense for both parties, we'd be interested in partnering with you.
Cool. Hey, Mark, what's the top book you would recommend that you've read?
Shoot, I've got a couple on my side here, but man, I love that question, but then I get a little bit. I do
too. I'm like, cheat. Okay, this one's good. This one's good. This one's good.
I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to give you an author instead. I'm going to say John Maxwell.
You know what? I almost said him when we were talking about the leadership stuff.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, he's good, isn't he?
Yeah. What do you like about his stuff?
Maybe because I just like his writing style. I don't know that I'm the most complex or sophisticated guy. I've read some of the more sophisticated, more seasoned historical leadership books. I think one of them is True North. And I found that author great, but it was really deep. And the words he was using and everything. I guess I like about John Maxwell is it just seems so readable and inviting, and all the stories he tells. John Maxwell has I think 80 leadership books, but maybe the one that stands out the most is 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, because you have that assessment at the end. So the cheat is, you go and you take the assessment at the beginning, then you read the book, and it starts to change the way you see people, see your responsibility, see your opportunities. And then you take it again at the end, and already you'll see that it's having an influence on how you see leadership. So John Maxwell is probably for sure the easy layup answer for me, and maybe a handful of books. So
he's really good. If anyone hasn't read his stuff, especially on leadership, you're right. It is super easy to read too. It is easy to read. It all makes sense, but he's a smart guy.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, great guy.
All right, cool. Hey, Mark, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Dude, Brian, no, I really appreciate it, brother. I thank you for having me on. This is fun. And I hope that your listeners, hopefully gave them something to challenge them and inspire them. And thank you again, brother. Appreciate you.
Sure thing. Thanks for listening. Get out there, crush it, close some deals. And remember, we'll have Mark's website. His website's going to be on a YouTube video or an email, all that kind of stuff, or show notes. Hey, thanks, guys. Get out there, crush it, close some deals.